Well, it would it would help if all my technology worked right, and I gotta find out why I have feedback, but welcome anyway. So bear with me. I am not sure why this is doing this. Let me know if you can hear me. Hey, Randy. I said hello to Brad earlier. Hi, Tim. Welcome, John. Let me know if you guys can feedback. I sure can, and it's driving me nuts. Let's see here. I don't know why this is doing that. And, I can't listen to me and do this. So if anybody has suggestions, let's see. It's still doing its thing. It shouldn't have that feedback. Not sure what's doing that. Welcome, Tom. Nice to see you here. So, uh, if you could do me a favor and let me know if you can hear me now. I've done something with the audio and I have no idea what I did. Hi, Mom. Welcome to the show. Hey, Zoe. Welcome, Randy. Welcome. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but as long as you can hear me, that's just fine. Okay. Thank you. All right. So I actually did make some progress today, or this week, I should say, on the flat car. So we'll talk about that today. So, and John, if you can tell me what the issue you're hearing from it, that would be helpful. That I actually, one of these days this was going to happen with the audio. Um, so the the issue that was online with the website that had the directions is finally back up and running. I did before it was completely up and running. I did find a way to get um, the uh, the directions downloaded for a bit, and then it went away. But we're continuing to work on the underside of the car. So I'll show you some um up close um, kind of stuff. So I continue to work on some of the detail. These aren't obviously they don't look the same, but I didn't get this question answered last week, but the directions say to make the two ends separately, tie them together with thread, excuse me, and then glue them together. Um, I have thread somewhere. I've found that more tedious to measure things out in that manner. So I combine them and I cut them and bent them the way it asked to bend um, the um, coupler lift bars. I don't have them on yet. Um, I but I have them cut out here, so see um, that's why you see those here. Um, I then went to fit and get in the couplers, um, and then um, and then it was time to get the wheel sets in place. So um, one of the things that I've learned with this process, if you're going, um, uh, hey Dwight, welcome to the show. Nice to see you here. And so with one of the things I learned is if you don't have things perfectly cut, it gets harder to fit things in the end. So if you're just following the directions and running straight through, you could run into um, you could run into issues like I have. Um, so the the coupler pockets, the tops of the coupler pockets are part of those center beams, and there's actually three layers side by side, and they weren't they weren't cut flush and even and flat, and so I had quite a bit of sanding to get the couplers in. I haven't measured them yet because I was getting the wheel sets on, so I don't even know if they're at the right height and everything. I did have to do some adjustments on the ends of the cars, and I can try and show you an up close of that so that they would fit in flush and look okay. The other thing is some of the wire work was a little too close to the couplers. I think I'm gonna have to bend those. Those are supposed to be bent inwards, and like I said, I'll get you a further close up on that. Then it was time to try and get the wheel sets on. So one of the things I ran into is my wonderful measuring skills. Um, the pieces I cut were too small, and um, and so to have a 256 screw go in there um, was too small. So I needed to expand them out. Plus, I needed to make sure that they were as um, parallel to the ground as I could because what you can see with this is the slope starts right after the cross beams where the wheel set's going to go. So what I ended up doing, I did it the hard way. So I instead of kind of prying those pieces off and getting a larger piece, one piece on there, I decided I was going to cut another piece and use to me a plastic putty, sand it down, and have a wider surface to support it. The next thing I ran into is one of the 2, the after I tapped and or drilled and tapped it, the hole, even though it was the right the right drill and tap for 256 screw, maybe the styrene was a little soft. They said use, um, 030 styrene. Um, so the next thing to try and combat that is I, I went and I used another sheet of 030 styrene over top of it and glued that on. So, you can see here that I have one of them in place. The other thing you have to take into consideration is how much room you have there with the screw, for the truck, and I ended up having to cut down the screw. So, because when I was screwing it in, it was actually separating the beams from the, top of the car, and it was putting some stress on the wood planks as well. So, make sure before you start forcing things in that you have the right height that you need. And I don't know if I'll still need to, give this car additional height or not, but we're gonna have to see because I haven't finished yet. So here we are with the car. I got the one in here. This one's in here pretty solid. Looks okay. This one, I thought I might show you what I do with sanding on this. So when I'm doing fine sanding, and I did this with the cab car, is do a wet sanding technique. This will take no time at all, but it's a polishing technique, so it's not going to take so much off of this. Let's see if I can show you close up. I don't know if that's gonna, but that's actually 2 layers of O30 styrene there plus the putty. And then we're gonna re-drill the hole and hopefully I filled it with the putty and hopefully it's gonna hold. Um, we will see. If not, then I'm gonna have to take those off completely and redo it and with the right size piece there. Um, but one of the things too, if I can get this on camera, like I said, you can see that it's sloping upward at that point. Um, I could either I could center it more, that piece more and center and keep the screw center potentially, and still have clearance. And also, I'm not sure if you can see this, get as close as possible, but that's not a perfectly level, coupler because of how not uniform the, ends are. So, the moral of that story, um, and I did a lot of sanding for these, but the moral of that story is when you're planning the project and you're doing initial steps, make sure you're thinking about those end steps. Make sure you read through if you have instructions like I did here, make sure you're reading through them so you can figure out, if a later step, um, needs to be you need to focus on that. Here is let me see if I can find that fit. Um, Not too bad. This is gonna run into this, brass, so I might cut it a little bit shorter. So, that one's out further than that one, but this still goes into it, but it's a little better off, so I might adjust those. We'll see how it performs if I get it on the layout at some point, and, but those are a lot of struggles I had with it, and, not really thinking ahead about these steps. Um, not I haven't really, I've used the tap and the drill and tap, but I haven't used it for something as critical as, the wheel sets and, things. I've done it with couplers, um, but that's what I worked on, this week is getting there, so um, I have to work on this piece here. Alright. Zoe, have a good night. So, so yeah. Brad jumped on. Brad did what I say is just jump in, and he jumped in to do live stream, and he wants to get into that. And it was very good and very informative, and um, he was very interactive, answered questions, and it was a real good live stream. And unfortunately, it was lunchtime for me, and I'm working stiff, so I had to get back to work towards the end of. I think it was ending soon, but I don't know. You know, um, so if you haven't seen Bradwell Creek Industrial Spurs stuff, check him out on YouTube. He also has Facebook, and I think he mentioned Instagram, which I haven't checked out yet. I'll have to do that with the Instagram as well. Um, I have been trying to hire a social media manager so that I could flood all of the social media outlets, and I've been trying to recruit Gopher Girl to do that, and I've gotten a kind of a yes, kind of a no. So uh, hopefully, throwing that out here will put a little pressure on her to become my social media manager, and she can get more content out than I can, and probably better than I can as well. So. Um, So yes, that's really what I focused on here. I was hoping to get the both wheel sets in, both couplers in, and have those, check the NMRA gauges and for those, or check the gauges for those and make sure they work. But I didn't quite get there. Um, but I thought that brought up an interesting thing, and I don't know if folks in here have tried wet sanding. I've heard about it. I've heard about it in the world and didn't really know much. Of course, I did what I do, and I searched on YouTube. And really, what I was finding um, uh, was that mostly the videos out there on wet sanding are from car modelers because they're really trying to bring shine and across their the car model. And so, but that the wet sanding technique really helped me not destroy the cab car and um, really help with filling in the areas I cut out on the sides. Um, Let me grab that again to show you. So when um, when I was, you can see this in the other live streams that I've done. But there were windows here. There were these windows. There were two of them here. And with the wet sanding technique, you can make it disappear. And of course, I don't have another one here, but if you trust me, there were actually windows there. Filled them in with styrene and used the wet sanding technique to sand them down, and of course, paint there so that I could get the door in there. I used it for that as well. And so, really, I was flustered by the idea, but it's really a simple thing. You're using um, a finer and finer grit in layers, and you're wetting the sandpaper, and that helps. So you're not taking as much off. So um, when I went to do the other, when I went to do the cab car, I went out and got some sandpaper of 1,000 grip. Well, it would help if I show you on camera, but 1,000 grip and 2,500 grip. Even for modeling, this 1,000 grip works fine. Um, but I mean, this stuff is super. It's almost just looks like paper until you feel it. You feel it has a little bit of that grit on there. But it's a lot. It's a lot of work to do it when you're doing something like a car or like this um, to do the wet sanding technique. Um, Good evening, Split Rock. Uh, have you done the wet sanding technique? Um, but just to do this little bit, literally, you have water, and if I take, um, by the way, this was a really neat find, and if anybody knows Adam Savage from Mythbusters, it was his recommendation to get something like this, and this is helpful from a hobby standpoint. And, you know, for this, maybe I'll take this is 320 grit, a, a little piece of this because I'm working with a little area, and then literally go in and I'll wet the sandpaper, and then I'll come in and I'm just lightly going over the top of it and sanding it. In you can see already with this that it's coming right off, and this feels wet, it feels damp when you do that. And for this little area, I'm not doing a whole lot, but and I want to make sure that and by the way, with the putty, first of all, when you sand it, you can smell it again like it was wet because you're wetting. Um, but it shrinks a little, so you can see the divot. That's where the hole is that I was filling in. Um, but then I'll take that was 320. I'll take a little piece of the if I could rip it off without cutting myself on there. So then 600's a little bit, a little bit finer. And so you're not going to take much off and wet it again and go over it. And I just want a smooth surface. Uh, sorry if I'm not getting that on camera. So I might want to do a little bit more putty in here because, um, I can try again on it, and then I might want to do a little bit more putty in there as it shrinks. But I can certainly try to drill a hole in there again. So, and like I was going when it came to the putty, I was kind of going, seeing what people used online, and also price. And this is not something I ordered online. It's shipping is going to be more expensive than this, but I usually like Vallejo product, but their putty was more expensive, so I went with the Tamiya putty that Yamato Supply had. So that's kind of what I've gone with. It smells. Need ventilation when you're using it. Um, but see here. So this is my little tap and drill um, home. Is this little tiny thing? Um, it's, and I have a couple of taps. This one has it right to the edge. The other one doesn't. So this is why I use this one because it's such a small area. Uh, so so once we have that in there, we're going to see if we can not destroy this live on camera. So it shouldn't take much to get through this 060, and um, boy, when you get that putty wet, you can really smell it. Uh, and so now we got to switch this out again, get the tap in there, and then we're going to tap it and see if it all worked the way it was supposed to work. I don't think I've done a whole lot of live work on here, but I thought I would show folks this. Uh, so, and then all you do with the tap is you come in and it's, I still think I'm having the issue here. And then you spin it back out. So you don't want to pull it and rip what the work that you've done on there. So it should work, but it still felt a little loose. So that makes me kind of nervous. These are the uh, trucks that I got. I researched it a while ago as to what trucks would work with the Era for this. I don't remember why I came up with these, but it's the 50-ton uh, um, 50-ton metal trucks, number 504 from Katie. If I, so let's see here, and I have my trusty bin of screws for this. Let me see if I have the screw in here. I don't think I have it in here that I use. Me, I'm gonna probably have to cut this down. So once again, here's the screw. Um, it's a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit long for this. So um, it's a little bit long. So I'm just gonna cut a little bit off of that. I'm gonna try without there, without losing it. Hopefully I'm short. And we're just screwdriver and see. No, I should have some the way this this one has to give. I'm afraid this one might I might redo this whole uh, might have to probably gonna have yeah. What I'm gonna end up having to do is I'm gonna have to redo this whole thing. Um, the other thing that I'll probably do is there's a gap in here. I'm probably gonna want to fill that in. Maybe see if I can slip a piece of styrene in there, or if anybody else has any suggestions. But even with um, it's just not holding the screw with that. I just maybe cut a .06 instead of 2.03s, .06, and see if we can just get it and have that nice and solid and the right size. See if we can make that work. But I think I'm gonna have to pull those off since that didn't work, which I wasn't sure it was going to. What tends to happen when you're, you know, um, and I let that putty dry for 2 days, so I just I don't think it's gonna work. Um, so okay, Squadron Buddy, yeah, Squadron Buddy obviously is uh, was marketed towards um, aviation models, of course. And is there a difference between the Squadron brand putty and Tamiya putty split rock? See, Randy, though, it's still amazing. You work in a scale I just can't work in anymore. I can't quite. Um, I can't quite make it work. I can't. My hands just don't want to do what they need to do with N scale. And so, unfortunately, I moved it up, and so that's where I'm at. So this weekend, hopefully, I'm going to try and redo this. What I want to be careful of is uh, this piece right here, which is connected to some wire. Although it's a messy mess, I want to be able. I'm hoping that that stays on as is. Otherwise, I might have to redo that too. Um, but we're going to keep at it and see if we can make that work. And again, if anybody has any suggestions on how to remedy this and make it work um, better than I'm doing, I would appreciate the advice. Okay, yeah, Brad, I could definitely try that. Um, so fill it with styrene rod, glue that in place, and then and then do uh, and then drill a hole again. So again, that'll be my next try. Just got to find. So so what I'll need to do with the self tapping screws is just find one the right size, um, and that will fit in there. That's designed for 256 holes. So I assume I could tap that with a self tapping screw, and I know I have a couple in here. I was trying to size them. I thought I had them in here. I was gonna try and do that, but I suppose I could do that, and then I could tap this with the self tapping screw, because again, that's designed to fit the 256, and then at that point, then send it through and screw it in there. So, oh, I have any anywhere. Uh, the other thing I was worried about with the self tapping screw is size, as length, because I didn't want to cut off the point of the self tapping screw because the point helps the tap. Um, so I've got, I don't want to drop the whole thing out here. So this might be one that we could do. So doing the self tapping thing again, that hole is hard to see, but this is a little bigger than the hole. So I'd have to tap that through. I'd have to send that through here to make the room, and then and then send it through there. So that's not a bad idea. So I'm going to keep this with that now. Let me see if I have uh, any other screws like that. This length on this one shouldn't be too bad. Uh, yeah, that should work. So we'll try that. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Appreciate it. So that will be up next, and I just got to find the right rod size. And I know I have a bunch. I have the assorted. I have so much styrene from these projects. I finally became that person that gets a million pieces of styrene and other things, I suppose. Um, So I have other rod sizes, but here's an assorted pack. Um, so I certainly could, and I could even drill that if I don't have the right size and I have something thicker like this. Technically, I could just drill a bigger hole, then fill it in with this, and then go from there. 'Cause I don't think I think everything else I have would probably be too small. You're really getting into the small rod sizes. Everything else I have is tube that's round, but I certainly can do that. So we're going to try that this weekend. Who else has got good tips for me tonight? So, Randy, you could use a mini drill press. I think we all could. I want to, you know, I don't have enough money for Micromark, but you could basically build a whole workshop out of mini tools from places like Micromark and Harbor Freight. Has a bunch of mini tool power tools and workstations and things like that. I'd like to see this huge mini room with mini tools, and that would be neat. Um, my dad had enough tools from Micromark to repair antiques and to do miniatures from job miniatures and stuff. And get tools, and I have parts of those tools. Um, I don't have everything that he had, but he really liked Micromark. Um, yeah, that's a good point. Split rack might still need a longer screw for to ensure the height is what it needs to be, and make sure we're not dragging the car along the track. So might still need something bigger there as well. So we're gonna work on that. Yeah, Randy, the website did come back. It's out there, and there are not just this flat car, but there are a ton of um, other clinics there too. What's nice about at least this one is they help with the conversions a bit, from scale to scale. Let me go ahead and put it in the chat. Oh, no, let's not do that. So that's the website for the Lone Star region, and it should go right to clinics with that one. Um, and then uh, and then I'm interested in eventually at doing something else with the um, with the clinics that they have there. Um, so, this is another thing that wasn't discussed, I think, in the plans is when should we have you know, painted the car. Um, I think I would have rather painted the car before putting the wood planks on because that's just going to take a bunch of taping to cover that up to paint it. Um, my plan was to, since it was really taking you through the build of the car, the plan was just to get everything in place. Then I can take off, the wheel sets, and I can take off the couplers and paint the car at that point. So um, so I haven't tried prying the planks or anything like that. I certainly can gouge them and um, age them a little bit more. Um, I like that this one has a hole in it, and some of them cut on the ends are uneven and things like that. I suppose I could do something like that to um, give it some age and make it look worn. Um, and so we'll have to look at getting to that stage uh, as well. Um, yeah, I could certainly go through doing that all again. That's that's certainly something we could do. Um, you know, um, I actually have an issue here where some of this, um, ooh, the camera didn't pick up. Some of this is actually um, didn't stay glued down on this end here. Um, so there's things that can be done there as well. Um, or and probably needs to be glued down a little bit more there. Now I got to figure out what I want to paint this. So there's nothing out there that I can find that's solid. There's a few videos that track some types of equipment for New Jersey Transit, and I know I don't need this to be New Jersey Transit, but I certainly wouldn't mind it being New Jersey Transit to add the car to the layout, add a different type of car. Um, and so the only thing I've seen flat car wise or anything out there with any New Jersey Transit lettering was like I think a Lionel set. And so I haven't been able to find anything anywhere to show lettering and numbering of cars that any maintenance cars or anything for New Jersey Transit. Um, so I don't know that it even needs to be. Uh, if this is the 80s and 90s is what I was going for, and if it's the 80s, I think New Jersey Transit started, if I'm not mistaken, or took over from Conrail in 80, I don't know, 83, 84, somewhere in there. So no reason it couldn't be something like the Conrail flat car and have Conrail blue and their numbering and lettering, but that would also be next. So, yep, that was the idea, was to put this on the layout as um, a maintenance of way car, and it could be whatever. Like I said, there's not really much you can track. So if it's doing something railroading wise and it's carrying something important to the railroad, I think it'll work fine on the layout from a prototype's perspective. Um, so, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with this, and I have a project to work on now this weekend. Thanks to Brad for the suggestion. Um, so yeah, with that being said, I do have a show and tell of sorts. So I will be back in a moment. Uh, all right, I am back. Sorry, I have that on my phone so I know where we're at. So, we talked about this one last week. Was this made of Walgreens pill tops? Um, I did. I finished this up way after when I wanted to finish it up, and I did what I said I was going to do. I was going to tap into the O scale world because this is what this is going to fit on. So I went and I got this car. I stopped at a Menards by me and for $24. I picked up a, it's a 2-pack of these flat cars. This one with Norfolk Southern on it, and it really fits on here. Fits nicely on there. Um, so I don't have it secured, but that's kind of what it would look like from one end, where you can put this around. It could sit however you want on there, but um, so what it prompted me to do. When the owner of Menards, Mr. Menard, decided that models were getting too expensive and he could produce some cheaper. There's like any other cheaper model, there's some givens and druthers to the models. And so when I take this off, you know, here it is. Looks okay. I don't think I've ever, you all can tell me if I'm wrong on that, but I haven't not seen a brake wheel on the side like that. But I could be completely off. Um, you know, the stake pockets are kind of more visual. You don't really have the stake pockets in here. Um, they're just on the side. And then this is the telltale sign of a slightly cheaper model. That's the underside of the model. Um, I don't know much about O scale. I know a little bit about it, but not a lot. Other than I don't like three rail, but they make these compatible with three rail with these little in here. So I'm sure that carries the electricity there as well. So if I was going to really do O scale, it would be two rail, which is out there. But it prompted me to ask the crowd here tonight, or the group. I don't know if we call it a crowd, but what could I do to make this a little bit nicer looking, a little bit more prototypical looking than we see here? Uh, so, you know, uh, definitely, you have the brake items on the bottom. You have cross beams and these long beams in the middle. Those are all missing. So I would assume I could do that. I would have to learn how to do, um, you know, 1 to 48 with all the styrene and stuff and figure all that out. But I suppose I could upscale the clinic and do one of these in O scale, or I could do what I did and paid $25 and got me two cars. Um, but anybody have any suggestions what I could do to make this look a little better? Um, I know I can kind of dole this out a little bit on here, although you're not going to see much of the top. You're going to see a little bit, but definitely get it more dull and more looking than this. It still looks pretty plastic there. Um, so, did I? Okay, don't get me started. 11% rebate at Menards. For years, I've been trying to get rebates, and for years, the place in Wisconsin wouldn't send me my little rebate certificate to spend at Menards. I could buy some really nice power tools for as much as I spend at Menards, from there with their credits, but I never get them back. And I get other mail, so I don't know what it is. I don't understand why they don't. There you go. You got me going. I don't understand why they haven't come into the modern era and allow you to do it online or even at the store, since you can look up receipts at the store and anyway. So no, I didn't get my 11% rebate, if you haven't noticed. So, so you said replace the decking here. So would you just sand that down? Because it's all one piece of it's all plastic. So would you just sand this down flat and then add wood to it for the decking? Um, um, so you would replace the little tiny grab irons they have on there, and the stirrups, the plastic molded pieces there. Um, so you would take this whole thing off then, the whole brake wheel set piece here. and put something scale on the end. Coupler lift bars. We're back to those things. I still got to get them onto this one. Um, but yeah, so add those. So you want to see? I don't know. It's have to be a small drill bit to open up those um, the lift bars on there. But I suppose it'll be easier if I sand down the top there. Um, I This is kind of one of those bin kind of projects because again, I want to focus on the NMRA piece, and I know I could do that if I could super detail this and see if that would fit towards cars. But I still really want to focus on the layout. It was just that with the um, division meeting, I wanted to do something with a load because I didn't have a load for this one. I was just working on this one, so I wanted to present it. But I wanted to do something. I really wanted to try this tarp idea, and I shocked with how well it came out. It would help if it was on camera. It's a little bit the lighting. I don't know if it's the lighting or not, but this looks way darker. For whatever reason in the light, it's flat to me, and the light on the camera, it's still reflecting and not as flat, so it's not as green. Um, but then, so have a good night, John. Have a good weekend. Um, so, so you said it would probably be on top of wooden blocks, probably to protect the undersides of whatever these are. That makes sense. Um, so they certainly could do that. I I tried to follow the NMRA guidelines and measure the weight on this. And, I was saying that you would put weight here, and the weights I have, like, those quarter ounce weights. I have, like, a box of about 1,000,000 of the quarter ounce weights, um, that I got on Amazon. Um, but I had to put when I was measuring it, I had to put, like, 4 or 5 of these on here. So maybe you could do something if you're adding the wood planks, or, to be honest, could certainly have a layers stuck on here potentially, um, and then cover them up with paint or something. I don't know, but it certainly took a lot um, of certainly took a lot of weight anyway. But um, I'm just excited that this load came out the way it did. I wish I put pictures of it on the division websites for people to see, but not everybody at the meeting got to see it finished. But I really like that. So, yeah. So that was one of my items. The other one that I wanted to share was kind of an ode to my mom. I'm going to share with you something she did next week as well. Um, but wanted to just put in a plug for her, for anybody who happens to, their creative side takes them to poetry and they uh, like that sort of thing. Um, I wanted to show you her book real quick here. See how that comes out. Um, so this is her book, a book of poetry um, from her life experience, and I got a copy of it, and I don't know if I got a signed copy, but I got a copy of it. I don't, um, if anybody's interested, there's some Kindle options, and you can get it in paperback, and it's through Amazon, so it's kind of like the T-shirts you get out there. You order it, they print it, and send it to you. But um, definitely a good read, um, if you if you're into that sort of thing. And so I just wanted to throw that out and you know promote her a little bit and the work that she's done since she raised me and my brother. She deserves more than this little promotion that I'm doing. But uh, anyway, um, so if you're into it, check it out. And that was really talk about the progress that I made, and I was happy to make some progress. I just wanted to bring out this to show you with the uh, I wanted to show you the load with a car. Um, and this didn't take me long to do, and I wanted to show people that they could do it. It was my first time doing the technique, and it came out. Of course, there are things that I could do better, but it really looks like a tarp, uh, and so I'm impressed by it. And I'm not usually impressed with the work I do for myself. So um, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Just jump in is what I say, and I believe everybody should do that. So, so, so yeah, I mean, um, I tell my mom all the time that I'm not as big of a fan of poetry myself, and mainly because I have a hard time getting my head around it, and but people, love it. It's a great expression for people, and they really take deep meaning from it. And, um, it just I have my own issues in the world, but I won't stop promoting it for my mom. So get yourself a copy of it, and we'd be really appreciative if you did, and we think your life will be a little bit better. I'm reading that book. Um, and mom, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think my brother Matt did some of the photography for it as well. Yeah, Split Rock. I could believe that. Hey, Derail Daryl, welcome to the show. Um, you're kind of hitting on the back end, but um, I actually got back to work on this on the flat car that I was working on from the uh, Lone Star region. I also did a load um, for a division event last 2 weeks ago, and and it's O scale because of the size, and I bought a car for it. Um, so, um, oh, so I lied. So my brother didn't work on the photography for the book. Um, so I apologize for that. Um, but yeah, so let's jump off of that for a minute. So yeah, this is just a reminder of what I was working on. So it's this flat car from the Lone Star region of the NMRA that I'm working on, and I did this load here because I wanted to try doing tarps, which I never did before, and I used uh, pill bottle tops, and it's too big for my scale, so I went out to Menards and bought um, cheap O scale cars, and cheap for me anyway, at $25 for an O scale car, and it fits on there. And then you know, toying with the idea of upgrading this car, being that it's cheap and everything, but that'll be a secondary project. Anyway, so wanted to give you an update, Daryl, because you always pop in and say hi, and I know you've got you're always busy and you go to work and things like that to do. And yeah, you're on the East Coast or West Coast. Sorry, how dare I say you're on the East Coast? But so it's still pretty early there for you as it gets late out here in the Midwest. Um, so, but I think at this point, I've got some work to do. Thank you, Brad, for that. And I'm gonna probably sign off here and finish date night with Gopher Girl. As we have, it's the weekend. We have another hockey game. It was an early game. They moved the time to super early, so we got through a couple periods, and we'll go finish that up now. Well, that's a random question, Split Rock. Kind of personal, isn't it? Too. It's- all right. Well, with that, like I said, you know, just jump in and try something that you haven't tried before. May not go well, it may go well, but you'll definitely find out if you enjoy it and, hopefully expand on that, and everybody have a good weekend. I'm sure that I will see, many of you or hear from many of you um, on our, uh, other live streams this weekend, and, I will talk to everybody later.